Okay, so I want to start off this session with a poll. If you can all see that poll, kindly just take it. It's a one question. I just want to get a feel of what our key roles are at the workplace. So in your organization, what role do you handle in L&D? So you can choose the one that is the most, that you handle most, deciding what learning programs are required in the organization, approve learners to go for learning programs, create learning programs for employees based on needs analysis, signing off learning and budget development budgets, receive reports on learning initiatives and learning development. So let's take that question. We can all see the poll question. Let's take 30 seconds to take it out, to take it up. Okay, 10 more seconds. Let's have some more people take it up. Okay, so I'm going to end the poll. I'll just share the results of this poll. So I think we are split between deciding what people are mostly deciding what learning programs are required for in the organization and creating learning programs for employees. So thank you very much for everyone who participated in that poll. So just a brief introduction. My name is Martin Wanjohi. I am the Chief Learning Officer at iPerformance Africa. I am more keenly interested around two core areas, strategy execution and learning and development execution to enable strategy achievement. So iPerformance started off in 2012, and we've been doing trainings for the L&D professionals and HR professionals across the continent. So I'll just dive directly into the session objective, and the session aims to see to outline the challenges around corporate learning, and then to identify some key solutions. Just a brief about this study. And maybe before I go on, I'd like to say, as we move on, you can share your question in chat. You can raise up your hand to ask the question, and then we can take the question, respond to it, and then proceed. So the essence of the study. Why we did the study was the curiosity on what's happening in a corporate learning space. And secondly was that we create a measure to track how L&D improves over time. So for you to improve something, you need to measure. And so for us, this was more like the baseline. So, and then the third thing was to be able to assist organizations upskill their L&D departments. So just a brief about the study. So there were 7 countries that participated in the study. And we had participants from 8 different sectors in 70 organizations. The sectors include manufacturing, service industry, banks, and hospitality, and a little bit of government. So the first thing we had a look at was learning budgets. So for learning to actually happen within the organization, there needs to be budgets for learning programs. So, and one of the key things we found about this was 18.2% of organizations' first budget cut option is L&D. So, and just to share on this, why we think this happens is many organizations do not actually see the value of L&D, and in the sense of the value of how does L&D contribute to the bottom line. So, so you will find many organizations, L&D strategy is within the operational budget and not in the strategic budget, whereas we know that L&D would be supporting strategy execution. So why this happens is that many organizations are learning is operational and not and this hence embedded in the operational budget. However, if the L&D budget, L&D programs were supporting strategy execution, then they would be embedded in the strategic budget or strategic expenditure, and then that becomes hard to cut. The other thing we looked at was the learning technology. And what we found was that 27.3% of organizations have no learning management system. So then we would ask ourselves, how then does learning happen in the organization? So learning here in this organization is not a planned activity. So all learning content is not centralized in one location. So you'd have people sharing files, sharing PDF documents, sharing Word documents, sharing articles, sharing videos of TED Talks or YouTubes on areas of interest that they believe is useful in the organization. Learning delivery. Now, this area was looking at how do organizations deliver learning? And what we found is that 31.8% of organizations, learning is not organized on a platform. So again, scattered learning programs. So employees have to access different files, emailed to them on email. Key thing that we also wanted to look at is, what is the purpose of learning in organizations? Now, ideally, we know that the purpose of learning from a broader perspective is to impact the bottom line. From a second level perspective, the purpose of learning is to improve the performance of the organizations. So you would expect that there is the purpose of learning in the organization is more outcome-based than learning. But however, what we found was that 40.9% of organizations, learning is more of a checklist item. So learning is not outcome-based. So we have KPIs like number of trainings run within the year or within the quarter, the number of participants who have attended a training within the quarter. And then, but the question now becomes, so what that people have attended the training? At the end of the day, it is that it is impacting the bottom line. So many organizations, in 40.9% of organizations, learning is more of a checklist item that I have it in my KPI. So I'll attend a program so that I check I check at the box of for my KPI around learning. Whereas learning should be more outcome-based. So we need to relook at the KPIs we have around learning. We can have activity-based KPIs or outcome-based KPIs. Again, we need a mix because we need also to know how many people are attending programs. But then we need to go further and look at, okay, so these people attended a training on, managers attended a training on performance appraisal. Is performance appraisal in the organization improving, or where are we at? But then again, to be able to measure that, we need to know our baseline. Before we people could perform performance appraisal at, say, a quality level of 60%, and now after attending this training, that how performance appraisals are done has improved by 20 or 30%. The other key thing we looked at was Now, this is the key thing, the measuring the outcome of learning in the organization. And this, I would say, is measuring value for money spent on learning programs in the organization. So 63.7% of organizations cannot measure their return on investment on learning. Now, I want to dwell here for a brief while. So for organizations to be able to measure the ROI on learning, some key things need to be in line. One, the purpose of the learning. When we are running this training program, what is the objective? What are we aiming to achieve? And then also the design of the learning should be able to be measured to measure the outcomes. Our learning objectives need to be measurable. So, and this will speak to something else that we're going to see. So to be able to measure the ROI on learning, the organization or the L&D team has to put in place deliberately evaluation. And there is a framework for evaluation. We can use Kirkpatrick's evaluation model, where we are able to measure whether the employees were happy with the training, that is the level 1. Then we're able to evaluate the learners. What skill, what did we achieve knowledge transfer through the learners? And this, we evaluate the learners. But to be able to evaluate this, we need to evaluate the learners before the training and after the training, such that we can actually contribute, say that the difference in this knowledge, the differences between the pre-test before the training and the evaluation post, the assessment post the training, the difference can be attributed directly to our learning programs. And then next, we need to measure the behavior. And this will be able to achieve through the people who report, the learners report to. So we are able to measure behavior. Is there a behavior change? Because one, learning is supposed to impact also the behavior of the employee in how they perform their work. Then the other fourth level is measuring for results. So we're able to see that before, maybe in the Q1, the contribution of the employees was X. And after the 6 months, we are seeing the contribution of the employee is improving in terms of their contribution to the bottom line, basically revenue. So to be able to measure ROI, we need to put in place the evaluation program, evaluation of learning within our learning programs. Next, we also, the level 5 of measuring ROI. Now, this we can only be able to do when our learning programs are directly linked to the strategic objectives of the organization. And we are able to see how much is each learning program contributing to the strategic objective in our strategy. So again, there are frameworks for measuring ROI and also frameworks for reporting. The report that the head of learning and development will need, the report that the executive team will need, the report that the CEO will need are quite different. And so even the reporting system contributes to how we're able to measure the ROI on learning. The other key thing that speaks to measuring ROI is the L&D team skills level. So we went in, the study looked at what is the skills level of L&D teams in organizations. And what we found was 40.9% of organizations have learning and development teams who are not trained in creating, designing, and developing learning. and I would add implementing learning, which is now facilitating and delivering the training. Now, for us to be able to understand here this, we know that most of the people who train in organizations will be subject matter experts. And the subject matter experts, by view of being viewed as good and knowledgeable in the area, are then asked to train. And we also know that most of the people who are in training are what we call accidental trainers. So you liked something, you like to share knowledge, you end up training your team, and there you go, you launch your career into training. So people who are in L&D are learning as they move on. Now, I'll speak about Kenya because I have more experience around it. Within Kenya, L&D is in the HR. And what happens is then that the competencies required to be a HR professional and the competencies you require as an L&D professional are quite different. So there is that gap then, because now people who are in L&D, in HR, they end up in the L&D department, and they're expected to create trainings, to design training, to develop and then implement these trainings within the organization. But what we have seen is that there has not been any formal learning programs. Yes, we have the TOT, the training of trainers, but what the skill L&D professionals require is actually around instruction design, around facilitation, around creating scenario-based learning programs. So this we are able to understand it's because of the skills gap that exists in the market. Now, we want to look at what talent development professionals should know and do to be successful. Now, this is the Association of Talent Development Capability Model. I am a member of the ATD, and ATD provides a competency model for L&D professionals to measure their skills level in the different, there are about 23 skills area, and they're divided into the personal capability, the developing professional capability, and impacting organizational capability. You will see that when you look at the developing professional capability, their skills around learning sciences. And this is the answers the question of how do humans learn? Now you can imagine trying to create a learning program when you do not understand how humans learn. You do not understand the principles around adult learning. The other key area is around instruction design. So the skills in the section of developing professional capability are actually what are very core for L&D departments. There's an article I wrote on LinkedIn a while back on if I was to pick to set up an L&D department in an organization, and I was to select only 3 skills to start off the department, and the expectations of the organization is to have learning programs that can be justified by their return on investment. I selected about being able to design instruction for learning. The second one was around learning science, and then being able to facilitate the learning programs. Now, yes, we are starting at a point, but we need to have a direction on where we're going. Remember, as we started off the session, I mentioned that the purpose of this study was also to establish a baseline. So L&D, we need to upskill our L&D teams around these skills, these 23 skills. Now, the biggest challenges we found. Key number one was measuring the return on investment. Number two was around budgets, management support. Management support would be about the culture of learning, time. People are so busy that they don't have time to learn. Now, just to speak on that, normally we need to understand that when we learn how to perform tasks, we do them better. So when you look at lack of time as a challenge, then you would wonder, do people want to continue performing their work in the same manner? Because we are assuming if they learn, then they will be able to perform better. The other key challenge was lack of strategy, and this is the lack of L&D strategy. The other challenge was lack of knowledge and skills in learning technologies. Now, just to touch on learning technologies, the learning technologies are actually what help us to create learning programs for e-learning. Now, everyone has moved into e-learning as of late. And one of the key challenges that is being faced is creating learning programs for e-learning. Yes, there is the like what we are having, a webinar, a virtual session, but the key area of self-paced learning programs, there is still a challenge on that. And learning technologies are course authoring tools that help us create learning and help us to translate the learning sciences around how adults learn into the programs that we design for consumption in the organization. So maybe up to there, maybe I'd like to pause a little bit instead of just running and maybe open the floor for questions, comments. You can raise your hand, you can switch on your mic and just maybe raise your hand, then you can switch on your mic and ask a question or comment or seeking a point of clarification. Just to share, on your bottom of your toolbar for Zoom, there is the reactions. You can click on it and then raise hand, or just put your question on chat, or you can switch on your mic and ask a question. Before we move on to the next section. Okay, I see no hands raised. I see nobody is asking any question, nothing on chat. Can I presume you're all good to go? Hey, Samuel.
Sorry, please to look. Martis, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You were dragging.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Sorry about that. Sorry. Fantastic research venture and outlook. And I just want to ask, given the challenges that you do, we move forward. How do we get challenges of budget, if I'm correct, challenges of technology, challenges of ROI, if I'm correct. So the question is, given all these challenges, how do we move forward? Setting corporate objectives. How do we really move on? That's my question.
Okay. Now, I'd like us to go back to, and Alice, there's also a question on chat. What is the best method to measure ROI of learning and development in an organization? So what I'll speak to will be responding to both your question, Samuel, and to Alice. Now, we need to go back a little bit and ask ourselves, what is the purpose of learning? So the purpose of learning is to help us in strategy execution. So first of all, we need to go back to the strategy of the organization. And we need to go back to the strategy of the organization and look at what are the strategic objectives of the organization. What are the strategic initiatives we are going to undertake to achieve the strategy? Then from there, look at what is our skills level. And we are looking at what is our skills gap. And then now do a needs analysis and see these are the needs that we have to be able to achieve our strategy as stipulated in the strategic plan. Now then say we have learning program A. Now learning program A will be impacting revenue. If revenue is a strategic goal, 20% increase in revenue, if that is a strategic goal, and we say this program A will contribute at least 10% in revenue growth. Now, if we run our program and employees, now we know that we were at maybe 60% in terms of revenue, and we want to increase it to 80. That's a 20% revenue growth. And our learners have attended the program. And after 6 months, we are able to see that we have a growth of revenue of 12%. Now, we'll need to say, okay, this 12% from the learners that we took through the program, what has been the increase in revenue, their contribution? So what we are saying is to be able to measure ROI, we need to start right from the strategy level, that we are saying these learning programs will hit or will impact these strategic objectives of the business, will impact these strategic initiatives of the business. And we also have a control in the sense of we normally maybe don't train everyone. So we have a group that maybe of 10 we want to train. We say, okay, we will train 8. Let's see whether the other 2 will perform as well as the people who have been trained. Then also we need to measure the knowledge and the skills of the employees before we run the training program. And then after we run the training program, then we're able to say that this increase in knowledge, this increase in skill, we can directly attribute it to learning, to the learning program. Now, Alice, I'm seeing your further question, is there a formula since the company will inject money? So it is not, it is a process, it is a framework. So that framework, I can call it the formula. Okay, I hope that response speaks to the questions that were there. Any other question from the audience? Okay, I'm seeing Stephen, perhaps you could share any thoughts in getting management buy-in and involvement to ring fence. Now, how you get management buy-in in learning is that you're able to speak to the strategy, because you're saying, if we implement these learning programs, we will achieve this in strategy. Now, the L&D department runs like a support department. It's time that we start running L&D department like a commercial department, and it's saying these learning programs will contribute this percent on the strategic objectives of the organization. So Stephen, just to share, if you're speaking to strategy, then management will buy in, because nobody, if you're saying that if we implement these learning programs, we will be able to achieve our strategy execution, I think management would not buy in only if they're not very keen on success of the strategy execution. So I'm seeing another question. Thank you, Martin. What tools can we use to measure the current skill set and knowledge of staff? Now, I'd like to bring in something else, just like what I have shared, the competency framework for ATD. So that is an assessment, a self-assessment. And then we need to have people assess themselves genuinely. Then, because when I did that skills, the capability assessment or competency assessment, I was able to know my skills and knowledge gap. And from there, I was able to create a learning path, a personal development path, my own, what I need to learn to close my skills and knowledge gaps. So Judith, your starting point for this is your competency framework in the organization. Okay, any other questions we can take? Then we can proceed on to the next session. Okay, so moving on, in the sign up form that we shared with for registering for this session, we had one question: what challenges you are experiencing? And what we did was look at them, and we wanted to handle a practical session. So let me just so what we did was list down all the challenges that people or in the organizations were having. And the intention here was if we could speak to some of this. And so what I will ask on this slide, which challenge would you like us to address in today's session? And you can just pick by the number, and then we will, on chat, you can put a number, and then we will be able to speak onto it. So we have number 1, evaluation of L&D initiatives. Number 2, learning culture, setting up L&D departments, co-creating of solutions, funding, people attendance and budgeting, tracking effectiveness of L&D strategies, strategy contribution of L&D, lack of collaboration from certain departments, identify and actualize of L&D, coming up with L&D strategy, measuring ROI. I think measuring ROI, I think we've covered. Then committed and competent team, understanding employees, training needs, linking L&D to strategy. Okay, so I'm seeing 2, 1, and 7. Evaluation of L&D initiatives. So for us to be able to evaluate L&D initiative, we need to first of all start from our needs analysis. Now, there's something we say that training is not always the solution. So when you are starting out your L&D initiatives, what needs are you trying, or what problems are you trying to solve? That's the key number 1. And those needs that you want to solve will be in the learning objectives of the program. Now, your learning objectives need to be measurable. So, and this measurability will speak to the evaluation of the learners, the evaluation of results, the evaluation of behavior. So using Kirkpatrick's evaluation, Kirkpatrick's 4 levels of evaluation, then we'll be able to evaluate L&D initiatives in the organization. I'm seeing number 2, Okay, let me just scroll up chat. There was 1 and 14, and then I'll speak to number 2, and then we go to 7. Learning culture. Now, learners are not born. Learners are made. So if we start from that perspective, then we will see that we need to create learners in the organization. Now, if your learning programs are PDFs, if your learning is boring and it is not engaging to the learner, and the learner does not see the purpose of the learning, then they will not get into the learning. Now, most of the learning we do is for adults. Adults learn when they know what is in it for them. So number 1, we need to tie learning to performance, and then performance to rewards. So if an employee understands that if I engage in learning, I will perform better. If I perform better, I will get rewarded for performing better. Then there is something in it for them. Then number 2, it has to be engaging. It has to be interesting. Now, the role of an instructional designer, or the role of L&D, is not to present content, is not to present material to learners, where if you want your employees to learn the code of content, you share with them a 40-page document. Sorry, nobody is going to read that. It is a boring document, number 1. But then, so now what L&D needs, learning is both a science and an art. And the art part comes into you bring in creativity. You have to create creative learning programs that engage the learner, that reward the learner sees the benefit of, and the learner enjoys learning. And then it has to be available to the learner in the format that the learner can access easily. There was a session by Tata that their learning programs were being run on mobile, and they started noticing that people were taking their learning just a few, maybe 30 minutes before they slept. So they discovered that that's the time people have for learning. Then the accessibility is also key. Let me speak to number 7, tracking effectiveness of L&D. Now, this would be in your reporting and measurement framework. So the KPIs you come up with, then you would have activity-based and you'd have outcome-based. The activity-based is you see them, they are happening, like the number of people who are attending the training. But the outcome KPI would be like an increase in how the employee is performing. So as you use the measurement framework and reporting, there's a framework called let me just type it on chat, TDRP. This is a talent development reporting framework, which is a good framework to use. So to be able to measure, to track and to track effectively the effectiveness of your L&D initiatives. And then it would have the various levels of reports that the various managers would need. You will agree with me, your CEO is not interested in the number of people who have been trained, but is interested in those people who have been trained. What are they able to perform better? What are they improving what have they helped improve in the strategic objective items of the business? There was also another number, 12 and 14 seem to be of interest. Coming up with an L&D strategy and measuring ROI. So now, how you come up with your L&D strategy is just like, so your L&D strategy plugs into the corporate strategy. So there is the cascading and the alignment of the corporate strategy into the L&D department, such that you're looking at how is the L&D department contributing to the success of the corporate strategy. And so you will have, that's why you will come up with your what you learning you need to do to create in the organization. And then now the other key thing which we call, you need to choose your instruction methods. Do you want to be using case studies? Do you want to be doing simulations? Do you want to be doing what we call branch scenarios? Do you want to do story-based kind of learning programs? So how you come up with your L&D is as a contribution to the corporate strategy. And interestingly, we have a session on developing L&D strategy, which is coming up next week. If you would need more details on that, I am just sharing my email, then you can just shoot me an email, and then I can share with you the details of that. I'm just typing in my email, then so you can send an inquiry on that email about that program for developing and executing L&D strategy. There was another committed and competent team. I think that was it that? I think 12 and I'd seen 14. Okay. How you understand, let me handle number 14. How you understand your employee training needs is by conducting performance needs analysis and also analyze your needs. So it's a whole process that usually does not need to be rushed out onto. Normally it would take about 2 to 3 months and should be done at the start of every strategic period. So you have your 3-year strategic plan. That's about your next 36 months. So if you give it 2 to 3 months to see all the needs, skills you need, and the knowledge you need to achieve that strategy, then that justifies it. So, and you would be looking at your strategy, your existing documents in the organizations, the job descriptions, the performance appraisals, and then you'd also be coming up with the non-training needs. So how you understand your employee training needs is through conducting training needs assessments. Okay, so there was another set of questions. This is the last set. If we can pick a few which speak to us. So in this is the management lack of interest. Management lack of interest. Let me just move in cultivating a L&D strategy. ROI, I think we've spoken into that. Business management and strategy. Many organizations not prioritizing their learning in the organizations. Developing training reports, measuring ROI. A number of these we've covered. Tracking skills applications and quantifying training effectiveness. Again, evaluating learning, employee behaviors towards learning and development, how to implement self-paced learning and tracking the impact of training, information technology capabilities, budgetary constraints, building learning programs that deliver results, measuring the impact of the course when assessing change management. So if there is any item that is listed here that you'd like us to speak on, maybe you could share, and then I can do that. And as that happens, I'd like to handle information technology capabilities, number 24. This speaks to the learning management systems in the organization. And maybe just a question to hear to the participants in the session. Does your organization have a learning management system? Y for yes, and N for no, S for still in process. You can respond to that on chat. Does your organization have a learning management system? Y for yes, N for no, S is for still in progress. Okay. Let's share responses. Okay. No, no. Okay. So let me just wait for a few responses. Okay. Three more. Let's see. 3 more responses. So the question is, does your organization have a learning management system? Y is for yes, N is for no, S is for in progress, so maybe you're in the process of procuring one. Okay. Okay, so learning management systems form part of the technology for learning, and there are quite a number of them, and they have very various capabilities. I think I saw Alpha from Prospac, who they provide learning management system, and they also provide content. Now, one of the mistakes many people make is that they believe that the learning management system is the solution to their problems. Now, that is the vehicle, that the learning management system is the vessel that will hold your learning programs. So they still need to create the learning content for your team. So you still have to do your learning needs and assessments to get the learning needs of the organization, and then see whether you want to build learning content or get what is in the content market, and which is off-the-shelf learning programs. So I think after this, I will share something on the available learning management system that have some learning content that can kickstart off your learning programs in the organization. So we were looking at what the other, maybe what I would love to speak about is something that was interesting. Many organizations not prioritizing learning within the organization. Well, as L&D professionals or as HR, we need executive and the CEO to understand the importance of learning in the organization. And this is why strategy is the responsibility of the CEO. So if you go to the CEO and tell them that learning can help achieve strategy execution, I'm pretty sure that they would be very much willing to listen. But you also have to be able to have put in place your framework for reporting, your framework for measuring a return on investment, so that you're able to say this is the percentage contribution to success of strategy execution that has come from L&D. Now, when you look at the employees' behaviors towards learning and development, now with most gatherings being closed, people have to do learning online. And what now this current situation has led to is to organizations looking at casting their eyes on L&D to say, L&D, why do you guys exist? And what contribution are you making? Now, for us to have a positive employee behavior towards learning, we need learning that is engaging. We need learning that speaks to the needs of the employees, and that the employee understands why they learn. We cannot motivate the employees with any more to go for trainings with per diems or with outings. So we need learning that speaks to their skills. And if employees know that these are my skills deficiencies, and these are my knowledge deficiencies, and through the capability, the competency framework, and they come up with a learning path or a career development plan or an individual development plan, and the learning programs are available within the organization in the learning management system, the employees will want to learn, and their behavior towards learning will definitely change for the better. Now, let me just speak to, there was something about creating learning programs. Now, as L&D professionals who get engaged in designing learning for e-learning or for face-to-face, we need a variety of skills around creating learning programs. Now, there are various course authoring tools, Articulate Storyline, Adobe Captivate, Camtasia, programs for creating scenario-based learning programs. We need to be familiar with this. We need to be able to create learning programs through them, and so that we can have and deliver them through our learning management system. So unless there is something anyone would like me to speak on these challenges, and by the way, I'll share that as we close. Any item that you'd like us to speak on before we move to the next section? Now, I'd like to speak to number 27 as people make up their mind on what they'd like me to speak on. Measuring the impact of the cost when assessing change management. Now, if you're having any issues around change management and you're providing learning around change management, what you would be measuring is what was the course learning objective? And change management takes a while. It's not if you're training people on issues around change, that you will train them today and you will see the impact of the change tomorrow. So that's why the evaluation program lasts before the training and up to 6 months after the training, because after the 6 months is when you'll be able to measure the ROI of the learning programs. Okay, so I'd like to open up for questions. And then I have shared my contacts, Martin at iPerformance Africa, in case you have any query. Also, I will be sharing, sending an email to everyone post this session on how iPerformance Africa can help you solve the particular challenges you have around L&D, around your learning management system, around creating content for your learning programs, around skilling your teams for in the L&D department. And you can connect with me on LinkedIn. Let me open this session for any questions. I see we have a few minutes left before our time is over. If you have any burning question, let me open this for you to ask. You can also post it on chat. Okay, thank you very much, Rishpa. Welcome to our sessions. Any questions that anyone would like to ask before we close today's session? And by the way, we'd want to be running at least bi-weekly L&D programs, L&D webinars for L&D professionals or for HR professionals who are charged with the responsibility of learning in the organization. Also, just to mention, we have learning programs that address two key specific areas, strategy execution and learning and development. So we have an instruction design program that we run, and we have strategy execution using the balanced scorecard program also that we run. Now, why that is because there is a very close relationship. The two are intertwined. Strategy execution and learning and development are intertwined. Okay. Felix, by the way, thank you for attending our session. Nice to see you. I will share with you about the balance scorecard. You just note that. Okay. Rispa, do you offer trainings on learning technologies such as Adobe Captivate? Currently not, but by September we should be able to have them up and running. So we will be sharing that also. What would be key of interest? Now, there are 4 very popular learning technologies, that is Articulate, Storyline, Captivate, and Camtasia. Camtasia helps you to create videos from your slideshows and screen captures. So we will be starting these programs mid or end of, towards the end of September, and we will put them out. Thank you very much, Alice. So any questions before we close today's session? And again, I'd like to thank everyone for attending our session today. And we will be sharing details of our next learning program to be possibly in our webinar, to be possibly on 2 weeks from now. I'd like to open for questions before we, or comments, or either on, you can switch on your mic, ask the question, or type it on chat. And then at exactly 5 past 12, we can close the session. Okay, I am not seeing any questions, so I am presuming either I lost everyone or I did a very good job. Well, I wouldn't give myself the second one of doing a very good job. Okay, then let me ask a question. From this session, do you have some insight on how you can solve 1 or 2 challenges that you're facing in the organization? Be a yes, somehow, Y for yes, S for somehow, M for Martin, I need your help. So from this session, can you be able to solve some of the challenges you're facing in L&D in your organization? So the options are yes, Y is yes, I can solve them. And M is for, N, let's say N is for not sure. M will be for Martin, I need your help. I think this will help me also rate how the session was, because if I'm seeing yeses, then I know we have provided some solutions to the participants to solve their L&D challenges. Okay, I only see, okay, I only see about 4 responses. Okay, Anthony, I see your response. Okay, some more responses, then we can close this. Okay, so I'd like to thank everyone who participated in our session today. We appreciate, and this L&D webinar, the what we would call Matters L&D, will be a webinar we run every 2 weeks. So again, we will share the details for our next session. So the titles of the webinars will be Matters L&D. So thank you very much, everyone. I'd like to close the session unless there is someone with a burning question which they can ask. Okay. So 10 seconds for anyone to switch on their mic and ask the question. Okay, so I will take it that there are no questions from the participants, and I'd like to wish everyone a great day and a great week ahead. And also, please feel free to write to email, to send me an email if you have any queries or any questions, or any point of clarification. My email is there. You kindly connect on LinkedIn, and I'd like again to thank you for attending today's session. So thank you very much, and have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Doc, for attending. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Martin.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
That was really good.
Thank you. Have a great day.